Greetings, and welcome to our latest edition. If you've overlooked any of our recent content, you're in for a treat with this compilation. Let's dive straight into the highlights. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for hiding my girlfriend's heels before going to my sister's wedding? To start, I'm going to mention that I'm your typical 5'6" short guy. I hate myself for it. I'm openly insecure about it and have exhausted all solutions to fix the issue. I met my girlfriend 6 months ago. She met my family, and they embraced her right away. My sister invited her to her wedding and mentioned her in the wedding photos. I asked my girlfriend what shoes she was going to wear, and she showed me a pair of high heels that would have basically made her look 2 times taller than me. I asked if she could consider wearing sandals instead since there were going to be photos, and I didn't want to look like a gnome standing next to her. She called me silly and brushed off my concerns, which was not appreciated. The day of the wedding, I hid her pair of high heels. She has only one set in the apartment because she moved out all the old ones after I asked her to. She tried looking for them and really seemed to think something strange happened. I started telling her to get up so we could get to the venue on time, and she ended up wearing flat sandals as a replacement. Everything went well, and I gave her high heels back once we got home. She was shocked when she saw me holding them. I admitted hiding them for the reasons I stated above, and she got mad at me and said that I shouldn't have done that and forced her to wear sandals that completely didn't match with the dress. She kept saying I got what I wanted, but she will forever look awkward in those photos wearing those sandals. I do think she had every reason to be upset with me, but what was I supposed to do after I made my wishes clear and she brushed them off knowing full well how I felt about those high heels? So am I the a-hole? I really thought of it as a harmless move, and I think she might have overreacted. I think both these people are a-holes. He admits he's insecure. He was insecure, and hiding someone's clothes, hiding something of theirs, is really very childish. She is also an a-hole because she's more concerned about how she looks than the person she's in a relationship with. Completely, they're both very superficial about what they're doing. So, yeah, he's an a-hole, but she is too. What do you think? Story 2. A customer wanted her ice cream crunchy, so I made it crunchy. I don't like that title. Ew, sounds ominous. Briefly, during the pandemic, I worked as a manager at a Ralph's, a New York City area ice cream chain. And one night, as I'm helping out scooping, I hear a customer getting annoyed at the window and starting to get snippy with one of the young kids who was working the window. So I head over to smooth the situation as manager. The woman is mad because the hot fudge on her hot fudge sundae is hot and is going to melt the ice cream. I explained to her that hot fudge is indeed served hot, but she insists, so I make her a new sundae with magic shell topping instead and let her keep the hot fudge one. By the time I return with that, the customer is stirring her spoon through another cup of cream ice, kind of like a sherbet she ordered, obviously about to complain about it. The flavor she ordered was called Graham Crunch, and she proceeded to tell me that there wasn't any Graham Crunch in it, that she orders this flavor all the time, and she knows that I am intentionally tricking her. I tell her that this is just how the flavor is, and I don't name or make the ice cream, but she isn't having it. She wants me to fix it. We've got some crushed graham cracker topping in the back, so as she is berating me, I just walk away from her and grab the entire container and come back to the window with it. At this point, we've got a line of people down the block because this lady has held us up, so there are lots of witnesses to what I was about to do. Without breaking eye contact with her, as she continues to tell me that I'm wrong about the ice cream, I scoop 6 days a week. I open the lid of the container and empty the entire thing over her cup of the offending ice cream. Graham crackers are everywhere. Her ice cream is now definitely crunchy. She loses her mind at this and starts yelling at me she knows the owner and will get me fired. I tell her, "Yeah, Steve is a nice guy." And she responds with, "I've known Steve a long time." To which I respond, "Well, his name is John. Get out of here and don't bother my employees for free ice cream again." Now sufficiently embarrassed in front of the long line of customers, the lady leaves in a huff and indeed never returns. The next few customers left us $20 tips in the jar to make up for her. So the kids who worked for me left with quite a bit more in their pockets than they normally would and realized that their manager had their back. Very typical kind of New York behavior, don't you think? I could just imagine just pouring this whole thing of graham crackers over the ice cream. I'm sure there were a lot of people filming on their phones on this. I really wish I could see this up on YouTube. I would have loved to see that. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for forcing my ex to cancel his business trip to watch our son after his girlfriend made our nanny quit? I had a nanny, Cora, who worked for both myself and my ex. While my ex paid her, he left most of the decisions about her employment and how she would care for our son to me. Cora asked me if it would be okay if she could bring her niece with her to work while she cares for my son, as her sister was in the hospital. Her niece and my son are both close in age, so I thought it would be nice for him to have a child to play with, and Cora has honestly been a lifesaver for the 2 years she worked for us. Things were great until Cora called me to tell me she was quitting after my ex's girlfriend told her she couldn't bring her niece into the house, even after Cora had told her I said it was fine. I tried to convince Cora not to quit because she said the girlfriend spoke to her so rudely that she couldn't continue working for us. When I called my ex, he agreed his girlfriend was in the wrong, but thought this would just mean I would stay home to care for our son and he would take care of us financially again. I told him he needed to cancel his business trip next week because our son is supposed to be with him from Thursday to Sunday. He told me he couldn't just cancel as the trip was important, but I was annoyed, so I told him that was too bad and it was a good thing he was his own boss. Then, because he had to watch our son on his days and he couldn't do that from the U.S. Now he's upset with me, and his sister told me he broke up with his girlfriend in front of everybody because he was angry after our conversation. Am I the a-hole? Kind of. I think you're kind of being inflexible here. Yes, he agreed with you. He agreed that the girlfriend was in the wrong. And he seems to have enough time to seems to have enough finances to be able to take care of things while they work out another nanny. Does this woman have a job of her own? Does she do anything else? If she does have a job, that might be something. But if she's just being taken care of financially by the ex, then yeah, you're kind of knocking his legs out from under him. He canceled a trip that probably would have made more money that would have helped support, and you could have had some kind of temporary arrangement while you found another nanny, and the girlfriend would have been put in her place, probably. And she seemed to be put in her place. She seemed to be let go as well as the nanny. What do you think? Story 2. Walk away slowly so we can watch, baby. I don't feel good reading that line. Years ago, I worked as a cocktail bartender and waiter. A group of suits came in and sat down, and I went to take their order. I got a bad vibe off them from the get-go, and after I finished the order and went to leave, this 30-something sleazy guy said loud enough for everyone to hear, "Walk away slowly, baby, so we can watch." I smiled at him and started to do an over-dramatic slow-motion back-away, keeping eye contact with him and smiling the whole time. I told the other waiters about it, and everyone started doing these slow-motion walks whenever they walked past their table. The best one was a busboy who deliberately dropped something next to their table, then did a very slow and spicy pickup like the bend and snap from Legally Blonde. They left pretty quickly. Perfect! That is great. It's great that this person had such support at work from everybody. I do want to see that busboy's bend and snap and see how they pulled that off. I'm sure that would have been amazing. And just getting called out by that. It's amazing. Just everybody doing that when that guy said that so sleazily is just screaming out, "You have no power here."
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 1. Am I the a-hole for being mad that my parents treated my brother a lot better than me? Okay, I know the title sounds like I'm spoiled, but hear me out. My brother, 20, got a car for his 18th birthday. Not a new car or anything. It was a 20-year-old Lexus that was in pretty good shape. And he rubbed it in my face for the rest of the time he was in senior year of high school. Compared with my brother, I get just as good of grades as he does. Better in some cases even. I work my hardest in the hope of fairness. I even did some volunteering cleaning up garbage in my local area. Then, my 18th birthday came and went a few weeks ago. And the only thing I wanted, the only thing I was hoping for was a car. I wasn't expecting something like a new car or a sporty car, just something reliable like my brother got. The party wasn't anything like my brother's 18th. For his 18th birthday, my mom baked the cake herself. It was a delicious layered chocolate pudding cake. I got sheet cake from the supermarket. For them, they got a DJ. For mine, it was my dad's old boombox with a couple of mix CDs. We went through the whole party, and I figured my parents might have just been waiting to spring a surprise gift on me, but that didn't happen. I asked them as things were wrapping up why there was no car when my brother got one, and they said that they felt like he'd worked harder for it. I asked what he did that I didn't do, because I did all of that, and more. My grandma was nearby and heard everything, and then she asked them why as well. She ended up lecturing my parents that she was very, very, very disappointed in them for showing favoritism. Then she proceeded to announce to everyone still there that my parents thought it fine to get their firstborn son a car and DJ, but not their second. And then she even pointed out how much harder my parents tried for my brother's 18th birthday than they had for mine. My uncle was the first to stand up and say something. Then everyone else who'd not left yet. I ended up just walking away and going to my room to sit and think. I got a few I'm sorry calls from relatives, and my grandparents convinced me to go out with them for the evening. But when I got back, my parents were ticked and told me I'd shamed them to the whole family. I just walked past them because I didn't want to fight. The next few weeks went by with the silent treatment between us. But then, a few days ago, my parents suddenly surprised me with a white 98 Subaru Legacy that runs great. They practically threw the keys and the title in an envelope at me and said to have fun. I got the car, and they're paying for insurance for the next 6 months like they did for my brother. I know a car isn't really a right, but a privilege. So I feel like I've essentially blackmailed my parents into getting me one. Am I the a-hole for how this all played out? I mean, I think it depends on how you said it. If you were all, why didn't I get one like him? Or if you were calm about it and just said something. And also, did you talk about it beforehand with the parents? Maybe if you felt like you were, it kind of feels like you're owed a car by them. And even though you did all this stuff, you felt like you were doing all this stuff because they were going to automatically get you a car. Was there any talk of that? Was there any talk with the brother about this? I think there was just a lot of miscommunication. Kind of the a-hole, kind of not expecting it. Maybe if you had talked things out with them beforehand, it might have gone a little bit differently. But it seems like they could afford to get you a car anyway. I mean, I'm glad you got it and it's reliable. I hope you take care of it. Maybe taking better care of your car than your brother does of his is probably the way to show that you're a little more mature about things. I mean, we'll see. Story 2. Reconsider working here if I want to take a honeymoon? Okay. I had a manager who hated reading emails and would miss important issues in meetings because of it. I even suggested text-to-speech to make it less unpleasant, but he told me off. He spent a lot of time playing golf with clients and was mostly inaccessible. It got to the point where most of the team CC'd me. I was next on the totem pole, so I could grant approvals for stuff like expense reports and help out on projects my manager was supposed to work on. When I was getting married, I requested 3 weeks off for my honeymoon. Everyone knew I was getting married. Manager even congratulated me on the engagement when it happened. I had 5 weeks of vacation accumulated and didn't think it would be a big deal, especially since I was requesting it nearly about 8 weeks in advance. Then, a vacation request denied email comes in from our time off system. I emailed the manager following up, left voicemails, and after a week he finally replied to an email. Look, we need dedicated people. If you think you can take 3 weeks off for a vacation, you need to reconsider your position here. Keep in mind, my request stated vacation request for a honeymoon. I replied with, no consideration needed. My last day will be date in 3 weeks. Let me know about transitioning duties. I forward this to HR, the CCing manager, and HR set up my exit interview. But HR tells my manager to set up a transition for my responsibilities. During my notice period, I even replied to this email twice, asking about transition plans, since I didn't get a transition plan. I tell my team, they ask the manager what to do with my duties, and the manager says he'll think about it, but doesn't do anything nor email anything out. 4 weeks later, I get a call from my old boss. Are you planning on coming in this week? Why would I? Because you work for me? Not as of last week. Stop messing around. Get your butt in the office. I told you my last day when you denied my vacation request. How about you giving proper notice in transitions? HR asked you to develop a transition plan and to attend my exit interview. It's not my fault you don't read all your emails. I hung up and blocked his number, but screenshot the call log and sent it to the HR contact with an innocent, should I be worried old manager thinks I still work for him? Fallout. Things went from bad to worse for my old manager. Apparently, I was doing most of his managerial duties, so he actually had to try and get stuff done himself. He also got into some legal issues. Those client golf outings? He played golf, but not with clients. That made his termination with cause, so no severance for him. I ended up at a competitor with a nice bump in pay. I wanted to start after my honeymoon, but the new company really wanted my help on a pitch. I joined for several weeks, reworking about a third of the pitch, and then went on my honeymoon for 3 weeks. They paid for the entire time off. That garnered a lot of goodwill from both me and my wife. I only left the company because Mrs. and I moved cross-country and they didn't have remote positions back then. I don't have all the details, but now the old manager had to hire lawyers to deal with legal issues related to his dismissal and the expenses. Clarification, this happened in the late 2000s. Mrs. and I are still married. Yeah, you know the reason why that vacation was denied, and with the manager strong-arming him, because this guy was doing all of his duties and this guy wanted to keep getting paid to play golf with not clients. You know that's what it is. So this guy just did nothing wrong, and thankfully for our storyteller, it was painless. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not liking how my girlfriend dresses for work? So I, 43 male, don't think I'm in the wrong here. But my mother is very angry at me, and my best friend said I was a horrible person for saying what I did, and I'd be lucky if my girlfriend didn't put me out with the garbage since I decided I wanted to act like trash. My girlfriend, 34 female, is a preschool teacher, and for some reason I can't explain why she dresses like Ms. Frizzle, like a dress with the pattern of whatever they're studying. She makes a lot of them herself, now including matching masks. The kids love it, and the parents seem to think it's great. I don't like the amount of attention she gets, honestly. I'd prefer if she came home and changed before running any errands. On Friday, she helped my mom with something after work, and she was still in her weird dress. I've told her before that I don't like when she dresses that way, but she tells me I don't have to like it, but I have no right to tell her how to dress. I was upset she went out like that with my mother and told her that my mom said she was embarrassed and to ask that she please not dress like that again if they're going out. I was not expecting her to call my mom and apologize. When my mom asked what she meant, she told her what I said. My mom was furious, explained she doesn't have a problem with how my girlfriend dresses and thinks it's great she spends extra time doing things to engage her students. My mom then yelled at me for lying to my girlfriend and trying to throw her under the bus because I was being an insecure jerk. My girlfriend and I got into a huge fight. I said she should be embarrassed to be seen in public like that. She said the only thing she was embarrassed by was me. She hasn't spoken to me or done anything for me since. My friend said I was horrible and called me trash. I shouldn't have lied, but I think my girlfriend should take what I think about her clothes into consideration, and I'm not sorry for expecting her to dress more appropriately in public. Am I really such an a-hole here? Yes! When I saw this, I thought it was going to be a teacher dressing like inappropriately, like it was like the dresses were like making people uncomfortable, like they were too skimpy or something. But she's dressing in a way that makes that makes the kids excited to learn. And I don't think it would be something that would be that would be inappropriate going out just to run some errands. I mean, yes, you are an a-hole. Completely. 100%. Grade A butt. Story 2. Boss wants to cut off all employees and workers from their email access over the weekend, but doesn't understand the consequence. The story starts with me and my company. I'm a 30-year-old businesswoman who works in an IT service in a bank space. I'm the girl for everything, basically, but I'm a specialist for first-level support, administration and backup, sometimes even networking. Even when I'm not head of my IT department, I basically have all the responsibilities. But unfortunately, my pay grade doesn't reflect that at all. I think of my boss of my IT department as kind of lazy, if not incompetent. He even brags about getting so much money for basically doing nothing. I have a 40-hour week, but since the whole IT department is my responsibility, I need to keep track of the servers and maybe problems that can occur 24/7. This is mostly done via emails. When the server status gives out a warning or a failure, I will get notified, and then I'm fixing the problem over a remote desktop or going to the company itself, even in my free time. And I wouldn't mind this, but I'm not getting paid for this. But on the other hand, I'm getting punished when something's going wrong. My boss's boss wasn't that much better. Since it was a fancy bank, everyone should be in a suit the whole time, to let it look professional, best with a skirt and high heels. Only problem is, when you work in the first-level support, you need to do a lot of behind-the-scenes work, like slipping under the desk to do or repair cable management, doing work on the server rack, and doing lots of other activities that make you dirty. You can imagine that this wore out my business clothes really, really fast, and not only that, they were so impractical and really made my work harder. So I changed my clothes to a comfy hoodie and work pants to fit the work I'm doing a bit better. When my boss saw me, he was furious, demanding I can't look like a poor hobo inside his bank. I told him that I demand work clothes for both occasions because they're expensive and get worn out quickly. He refused, and I wasn't really happy about this. So much for the introduction. One day, my boss's boss, the head of the whole company, called me. He had a plan. He wanted to create quiet hours, meaning he didn't want his employees working on weekends to let them rest properly. At first glance, you could say, hey, that's a nice idea. Yeah, no, he just didn't like to pay them for overwork because he got in some legal trouble with overwork paying in general. Not only that, some employees had strict deadlines and needed the extra time to get work done. To actively ensure nobody can work over the weekend, he wanted the following. Please make sure no one can access their emails and remote desktop over the weekend. No exceptions. Since we had a ticket system and were able to attach emails to tickets, I asked him to write an office work task. This has two reasons. First, I like everything documented. Second, I have something to protect and secure myself if the task I was given is incorrect. And it's exactly this that saved me. So I was at my office desk thinking how to get this task done and what implications it would have, and then it was clear to me what it meant. The email came from my boss with the task, and indeed, he wrote, for everyone, no exceptions. I was thinking to myself, should I write them? The implications it would have? After thinking, I thought about how I'm treated as a worker, and I decided against it. I was working immediately at this task and made an automated process to block every access to emails after Friday 6 p.m. to Monday 6 a.m. Weekend came, and it was a Saturday, and I was calm and relaxed because if you haven't noticed by now, by cutting down everyone's emails, it means, of course, that I don't receive any updates on the servers. I can't possibly work on it because my remote access is also cut, of course. If you think you could forward your work email to your private address, no, I can't because we have a very strict data protection. Nothing is allowed to go out. I'm happy. It's still Saturday. In the middle of the day, I'm cooking myself and my husband a nice meal, and my telephone rings. It's my boss's boss. He talks with a stressed voice and told me that he can't access his emails. I needed a second to process this, but I respond, that doesn't surprise me at all, since you ordered me to cut everyone's email access, without exceptions. He was angry, very angry, and told me that this obviously doesn't count for him. I told him that he specifically told me that there are no exceptions, and he stated everyone. He then argued that this wasn't how he phrased it, so I reread him his own email. After that, he was silent for a moment. He noticed a flaw in his logic. I broke the silence and asked him, Sir, if you still want access to your emails on the weekend, that's no problem. Please send me a request per email, and I work on it the first thing on Monday. A bit angry again, he replied that he wants to have it done immediately, and I calmly explained to him that I can't do this, since my remote access is also blocked, like he ordered. He hung up. 10 minutes later, he called me again. He asked me calmly if I can fix the problem right now when he pays me for my overwork. He also wants me to be available at any time, meaning I should receive my emails and be able to remote work, and that this will raise my pay grade by a lot. I thought that this was the perfect opportunity. I agreed to that condition and pay raise, but only when my coworkers and I finally get work clothes. He agreed. Since then, my work situation drastically improved, and mostly only because I maliciously complied, well aware of the consequence of the given task. Way to go and way to play it. Way to give everyone, way to win something for your colleagues, not just for yourself. I'm glad this person got a real bump in pay, something that this person was excited about and would be able to accept. I'm really happy about that. And she was thinking of others too. That's really nice. But yep, it's that malicious compliance that will make people realize how important certain people are, the ones that they treat not so well.
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 1. Am I the a-hole for making my ex a birthday cake even though his girlfriend told me she had already ordered one? I'm an amateur baker, and I like to make cakes for people for their birthdays. My ex doesn't like sweet stuff, but our kids like helping me make a cake for him, so I normally make one for him anyway, for their sake. This year, his girlfriend planned a party for him, and she told me she had already ordered him a cake, so I didn't need to make one. I told her that was fine, but my daughter kept asking me when we would make her dad's cake and was upset when I said we wouldn't because she assumed I didn't like my ex, and that's why I wouldn't make him one. Since the cake has always been more for the kids than for my ex, I decided to just make him a small one since it's not like he eats cake anyway, and I don't want my kids to think I dislike their dad. I told his girlfriend beforehand that I was going to make a small cake, and she told me not to, and that I couldn't bring it to the party. I told her I had to bring it to the party, as that's when the kids would give him his gifts. I offered to come early and give it to him before the other guests arrived, and then they could put it away and nobody else would know about my cake, but she didn't agree with me and repeatedly told me not to bring it. I did take it with me in the end, and now she keeps complaining to mutual friends that I did it on purpose to ruin the party and calling me weird for making him a cake after I was told not to. Am I the a-hole? Well, was this a surprise? Was this always a surprise? Was the ex ever consulted about this at all? Was the ex ever notified and saying, hey, your girlfriend doesn't want to make a cake, but want us to make a cake, but the kids are asking why they're making a cake, and because they're saying it's because I don't like you anymore, trying to explain the whole situation at all? Was he even consulted about this? I figure if there was just a little more communication all around, either talking to the ex or maybe explaining something to the kids and seeing if they would understand. I'm sure it would just all be taken care of somehow. Kind of the a-hole for going against the girlfriend's wishes, but not by much. Just lack of communication. Story 2. My manager has problems with clock watchers. In my last job when I started, I would log in as soon as I got there, and if I had anything to finish up, I would do it before I left. I didn't mind as I'm a team player. This resulted in me doing 20 to 30 minutes a day of unpaid, but I liked the company and liked a clear desk. Fast forward 2 years, and my father-in-law was terminally ill. We got a call from the hospital telling us we had to get there as soon as possible as he didn't have long left. I told my manager and left at 3:45. Core hours were 10 to 4. The next month, my pay was docked for half a day. I had already made 2 hours extra unpaid that week, but they told me they couldn't make exceptions, and the extra I did was my own decision. Alrighty then, I came in on the dot and left on the dot. I did this for 5 years. I worked to the letter of my contracted hours. My manager was talking to a new starter, and in my earshot, she told him she hated clock watchers who left on the dot as this doesn't show company loyalty. I leaned over and replied that loyalty works both ways, and being docked half a day's pay for attending the final bed of a beloved family member when I'd already done more than my weekly hours was cruel and unfeeling. So I showed the company the same level of compassion they showed me. After all, rules are rules and exceptions cannot be made. The new starter started on the dot and left on the dot, as did the whole staff. I dread to think how many extra hours they lost over the whole department over the next few years. It's true. Loyalty goes both ways. This person was putting in the extra work and was getting no loyalty of it. In fact, they were not showing him loyalty. For the final hours being in the company of a loved one, I bet you this is a company that says, oh, we're a family here. Yeah, And they really treat their family poorly. Awful. Yep, loyalty goes both ways. Story 1. Am I the a-hole for withdrawing my part of the cost of my sister's wedding? My 28 female baby sister, 23 female, is getting married in December. This is kind of important in our family right now because my dad passed away last year and she was the closest to him. She's feeling down because my sisters, I'm a triplet and I have an older sister, all of us are married, and I got the father-daughter dance. Our dad walked us down the aisle. He saw us graduate, etc., etc. So this is hitting home deep in our house. To make it up to her, we, the girls, our brothers aren't, decided to all pay for her wedding with no budget in dress and venue since my older sister and I have pretty good incomes along with our husbands. To set some background, my husband and my brother-in-law aren't on speaking terms on my brother-in-law's side because my husband dated one of his aunts, 30 female, 10 years ago, and things didn't end up well because my mother-in-law never approved the relationship, and now his aunt hates my husband for breaking her heart. Already we're into the family spaghetti now, aren't we? Ever since the beginning, my sister was bridezilla-ish, but we tried to justify it with dad not being around and mom being kind of a mess because my brother-in-law has both of his parents participating and my mom has to do the parental duties all alone, and it hurts her. We try to be understanding, but some things are just ridiculous. All of us were supposed to be bridesmaids, while my sister's BFF was maid of honor. The same with my brother-in-law. Since he's an only child, he opted to have our husbands as groomsmen and his BFF as best man. We were excited for the wedding, and we were feeling pretty proud of it because, taking out the bad moments, our sis looked happy. But in the new year, she informed me that she would rather not have my husband, who's also chipping in for the wedding, from the whole wedding. To clarify, he'll make my brother-in-law's family uncomfortable. From the whole wedding? Like at the whole wedding? I thought that was BS until my mom sided with them. They said my brother-in-law's aunt is one of the few family members he has left, and hence, her presence was more important and we might cause a scene. I said that we didn't give two cares about her. So I told her that if my husband was removed, then my part of the wedding was too, and she freaked out because I'm giving at least 25% of all cost plus the dress. She and my mom came at me because that was her day and I just had to go with it. I gave them 2 weeks to think about it. Either suck it up or plan something so my husband and her don't interact. I never ever suggest to them to uninvite her before pulling my money out of the table, but my mom, sister, and brother-in-law insist that I'm in the wrong. All of my other siblings are by my side. I think everybody's kind of the a-hole in here. I think everybody would do best just to stop and think about what, if you're really wanting to honor the father's memory, think about what the father would want. Would the father want all of this bickering and squabbling? And if you're not going to invite him or you're not going to invite her, I'm not going to put any money into this. I think everybody just needs to suck it up, the bride included. It doesn't sound like the husband, or it sounds like the person that passed away would put up with this kind of stuff. I don't know. What do you think?
Please like and subscribe if you made it this far. I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the video and have a wonderful day.
Story 2. AT&T tries to bilk me over $139. I actually bilked them out of $72,000. After my wife and I got married last year, we decided we should both get on the same phone plan. We went down to the AT&T store and met with a rep who told us we'd both be on an unlimited plan for $70 a month all in, including taxes and fees. I was very specific about getting the all-in price for the service. It seemed like a decent deal, so we signed up. 2 days later, I log into the website and see that there's already a bill for $139. I called a rep to see what's up, and they told me that between the activation fees, taxes, and surcharges, the bill was correct. I told them what the salesperson told me, and they basically told me to pound sand. I promptly told them I wanted to cancel the service and wanted the $139 waived. They said they could cancel the service but could not or would not waive the bill. They also told me that if I canceled immediately, my wife and I would lose our phone numbers, which is true. So I figure since I already have to pay for the month and I don't want to lose my phone number, I'll just get a new carrier and cancel when I'm ready. So I do my research and find Visible, which is excellent, and we make the switch. I call back to AT&T and inform them that we have switched carriers and want to cancel the service. I again ask for the refund. The rep informs me that since I've had the service for 4 days, that I'm not entitled to a refund. He tells me to read the fine print on the contract, which indeed tells me that I have 3 days to cancel for a full refund. I'm now fuming because the first customer service rep that I talked to on day 2 denied me a refund if I canceled. I asked for the next level of customer service rep, and they send me to a customer care and retention person. I explained the entire fiasco to him and how I feel that I have now been lied to twice by AT&T reps, sales rep and first CSR. He's a really cool guy and apologizes and says he'll take care of it and will completely waive the bill. I'm very thankful and hang up thinking that this is finally resolved. Fast forward a month, and I get an AT&T bill in the mail saying my payment was not received and is now late. I again picked up the phone and called AT&T. I eventually make my way through 2 customer service reps until I get back to the customer care and retention department. This time, I did not have the chill dude. Instead, I got a very smarmy woman who said that the bill was due and I'd owe the entire amount. I asked her to please check the CSR notes and that the last guy told me he would waive the amount. She put me on a 10-minute silent hold and came back and said she'd escalate the matter to her supervisor. She said I should receive an email by the end of the week with a resolution. 2 weeks go by. No response. I called again. This time, I got a very nice lady that was sympathetic. She says she'll waive the bill. She comes back and tells me that she can't do anything because the bill has already been sent to collections. She said not to worry and that she'll send a letter to collections to have them waive the debt. I ask if this will go on my credit report, and she says no, and that they'll take care of it. 6 months later, I got a letter in the mail from Sequium Asset Solutions out of Georgia trying to collect on the $139. I immediately send them a letter via certified mail demanding that they verify the debt since it's obviously bad. I hear nothing for 2 months, and then I get an alert that I have a negative mark on my credit. I go in, and sure enough, Sequium, or whatever they're called, I'm not going to bother looking up their pronunciation. This is a credit agency anyway, has indicated that the amount is in collections. I immediately wrote letters to all 3 bureaus requesting that they remove the remark. A month goes by, and every single one of the bureaus removes the mark. Thank the deities. Another 3 months go by, and then I get a letter from Sunrise Credit Services in New York, again trying to collect on the debt. This is truly unbelievable because it appears that Sequium couldn't verify it, so instead of apologizing and waiving the debt, they just sold it off to another collection agency. I sent another certified letter to Sunrise demanding verification. I get nothing in reply. So far, they have not attempted to put a mark on my credit. That's where this part of this story ends. Who knows what will happen next? I could file a lawsuit, but the filing fee alone would be more than the amount owed. Here's the thing. I am not cash-strapped. I am blessed enough that I could easily pay the $139 without making a dent in my budget. I've lost 5 times that amount in hours spent on the phone and writing letters. But I am determined to go to the mat with AT&T on principle alone. This brings us to the revenge stage. You see, in addition to my day job as an attorney, I am an elected city councilman in my town. And when I was going over our monthly expenses, I noticed that we were paying AT&T close to $6,000 a month for our phones, internet, and TV services. We're a fairly small town, so it was pretty obvious that we were being bent over by these clowns and that we could save a ton of money by switching. I started working with our city manager and IT director on finding other solutions. We discovered that by switching to various carriers and providers that we could save half. I never would have looked that closely into our telecom expense had AT&T not jerked me around. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks ago, the resolution to switch was put on our meeting agenda and the council voted to pass it. We decided to completely cut ties with AT&T. Our city is saving a ton of money, getting better service, and with the money we saved from switching, we were able to hire another part-time animal shelter employee, which we desperately needed. I highly doubt our city would have considered switching if I didn't make such a stink about it. AT&T will end up losing hundreds of thousands of dollars over the coming years because of this. I hope it was worth it, AT&T. Well, good for this person for being able to resolve things and be able to switch over and get things straightened out. To me, it's a little bit concerning that just because this person was personally bilked over on this, that then he did something that would benefit the town, something that he's serving. It's kind of a mixed blessing here, but, glad he was able to stick it to AT&T.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.